Hello everyone, I'm Ari Lax, and this week I will be recording with Ad Nauseum, not Tendrils. This is a modern deck. The first time I think I saw this deck was Pro Tour Amsterdam 2011, which is the 4-set extended Pro Tour preceding Modern. But the idea is that, so Ad Nauseum, you reveal the top card of your library, put it in your hand, you lose life. Um, in Legacy, you play this, you draw a bunch of cards, you win the game. In theory, you can just keep flipping cards until you lose, and then keep flipping cards at less than 0 life, because you're not actually paying life, you're just losing it. So you can put your deck into your hand, and then the spell resolves, and you're at negative a bunch of life. Usually you lose, but if you've cast Angel's Grace that turn, you can't lose the game that turn. Or if you have a Phyrexian Unlife in play, you don't lose the game for having 0 or less life. So you just draw your deck. Once you've drawn your deck, pretty easy. There's a lot of ways to win. This deck specifically, it exiles a bunch of Simian Spirit Guides, then plays Lightning Storm or Conflagrate. So technically, Lightning Storm is the better kill. I'm playing a list that popped up top four at the Star City Open in Somerset a couple weeks ago, and it had one of each. I'm kind of interested to see if there's corner cases that arise where each is better. So Lightning Storm doesn't require use of the graveyard, which is a 1+, but it also lets you go off at instant speed. So you can, Ad Nauseum on your opponent's end step and threaten to kill them, or like when they tap out or whatever, and just kill them at like an appropriate time. Um, so that comes up a decent amount. On the other hand, Conflagrate is way easier to use on Magic Online, so that's kind of a plus. So I'm just going to play the list as was, and we'll figure it out as we go. To go along with that, there's also a Condor's Bauble, which lets you rebuy the win condition if it's in your graveyard. I'm not sure if that's necessary or not. So one thing that this split does dodge, by the way, Lantern can't just mill one of your things and surgical it and kill you. You have both. So let's just continue going through some of the stuff. You got a bunch of cantrips. Anticipate is one that was not actually a card the last time I really looked at this deck, which was around Pro Tour Valencia, which was Born of the Gods. So it's probably year and a half on this card was Dragons about. So it didn't exist, and you had to play like Peer Through Depths, which isn't great because it doesn't find this, doesn't find lands. Slight and Seer Visions are pretty obvious. You just max on the 1 mana cantrips. You're not playing 4 Unlife because one, it's worse than the other than Grace because it dies to Abrupt Decay, which is a problem. But also it's just clunky and not good in multiples, whereas Grace is actually good in multiples. Like 7's like a reasonable number of combo effect. You would play more Ad Nauseams if you could, but if you could play like 7 Angel or like a 5th Angel's Grace here, you'd probably cut an Unlife for it, not actually play an extra copy. Going along with that, that's kind of a choke point for this deck I've experienced in the past, is that if you let your opponent thought season Ad Nauseam, it gets problematic. So floating it on top with Serum Visions is pretty good sometimes. There is a Slaughter Pact in the main deck in case you, I don't know. I can't think of the scenario where you need to like kill their creature to kill them, but you can tutor up with Talaria West. Past lists have played more than one copy of this card. Similarly, Pact Negation is great. You are tapping very low on your combo turn. And this is just great protection for it. It also, you can Angel's Grace to effectively pay for your Pact, so it can be used as an interactive spell. Bauble recycles pieces that, in the end game kill. So, like if you have a Simian Spirit Guide or something, that doesn't really work because that costs a mana to gain a mana. Anyways, the idea with Bauble is that you can recycle a Lightning Storm if it's in your graveyard, but I don't know how much that's going to come up. So you got a decent amount of fast mana. You do have to save the Spirit Guides for your kill turn. You need 3 to actually kill them, regardless of which one you use. So Conflagrate, you have to cast it and then flash it back. So that's red, red, red. This, you just cast it. One of the big developments of this deck at Pro Tour Born of the Gods was playing Temples. You're not aiming to kill them fast, so you have time to put the Temple into play. You need the fixing. You want the Scry. Great. I'm interested in seeing Migakoro work. That's an interesting value land. Pentite Prism's pretty good here because you're actually building up to like 6 mana. Same with Lotus Bloom. rest of the mana is not super interesting. I'm kind of interested, so when the deck was played at Born of the Gods, it did not have any fetches, and that was also partially because shuffling back in your scrides is like not optimal, only marginally. But Polluted Delta and Flooded Strand weren't in the format at the time, so I'm kind of interested how much better that is or isn't. Um, there's just like a Miser's Urborg. We'll just see if these lines are good or not. Honestly, that's kind of where I'm at. Moving to the sideboard, so we've got a split of permanents and spells. So Patrician Scorn takes out Leyline of Sanctity, so you put your deck into your hand and then you draw the Patrician Scorn. You can presumably cast another white spell or have cast an Angel's Grace, and then it's just a free kill all Leylines. Hercules is against Affinity, which you do need to shut down a little bit in race. Echoing Truth is just another generic answer. Your own ley lines are just good against the discard decks and good against burn. Lab Maniac takes out decks that are going to be gaining a bunch of life, so you actually can't beat Martyr if they gain like 60 life or something. But if you just draw your deck and you win the game. Um, so that's something you can do with Conjurer's Baubles, kill immediately with Maniac. I guess that's why that piece is there. This is now coming together because you can't pass the turn after Angel's Gracing with a Maniac. So you have to do this if you don't have a blue mana for this. Okay, all coming together. Boseiju, because this card is great. Knight of Soul's Betrayal, this card is also great. It's one of the like Savage's beatings in the format, honestly. And some Miser's other interaction, like a Drown in Sorrow to clear out random cheap dorks. Darkness, that's for Infect and similar decks. You can just fog them. It's just like another. It's a fog. Like Angel's Grace doesn't work against Infect. Darkness does. Angel's Grace. So what happens is you Angel's Grace and you can't lose that turn, but you still have a bunch of Infect counters, and then you just die before you can do anything in your next turn. The rest just other interaction. You just kind of move stuff around between those and Slaughter Packs. So I'm interested to see how this deck performs because it's been quietly putting up like a finish or two. It feels more frequently than people play the deck. It's putting up finishes, if that makes sense. Like it feels disproportionately well represented, but not like it's doing great. So I'm kind of interested to see what side of the spectrum it falls on.